Alright guys, sorry that I have not been making videos for a while. I have just been, gun videos. I've done a few shooting videos or whatever, as I've had a few minutes. For about the last year I've just been swamped with work. If I'm not working, I'm sleeping. And so I'm staying really busy. I hadn't had a whole lot of time. I had to move, some other stuff went on. I just haven't had a whole lot of time to sit down and make a video about guns. This is one of the things that I really base my channel off of. Some other channels have got me involved in doing this back when I first started, but one of my first loves is restoring old guns and taking apart guns and fixing them. So I got one that this is most like a lot of the other videos that were firearms that have been handed to me to work on. Is I get ones that are broke, damaged, or whatever. This is the Grendel P12, and I don't know if it kind of looks like a car's TCP. Chambered in 380. It is unloaded, but if you'll see, this is a hammer fired pistol. Sorry about that, I had to run away from the camera for a little bit, but as you'll see, she's unloaded. You pull the trigger, this hammer should come back. It's double action only. It's not a striker fired, it's a hammer fired. And what's interesting about this, it does look like the TCPs. This is actually a Grendel, and the company that made Grendel is the exact same company that makes Kel-Tec. It's just this was pre-Kel-Tec, so basically it's a little blocky pocket pistol. This one has some issues. The cool thing about this is the original one that they made was the P10. It didn't have a removable magazine. You would lock it back like so, and then you would feed 10 rounds through the top on a M16 AR-15 stripper clip, and the magazine was not removable. But this one's got some issues. I have took it apart. It's missing a few pieces, but I've already actually ordered the pieces. Have them right here. I will go ahead and give you a disclaimer. If you're using this video to take apart your pistol, there will be some pieces missing because it don't have any. It's about 4 or 5 pieces it's actually missing. And I did put in the guide rod spring, because the guide rod spring on this one was bent up to the point where it didn't want to let you take apart the gun. So first thing I want to let y'all know about this gun is a pain in the keister to take apart and put back together. If you're not good with doing stuff like this, don't even attempt it, because it has a coil spring in here that works the trigger mechanism that has to be wound, and it is a pain in the neck. But we'll go ahead and get started on this one. We'll do what we can. First of all, I will show you there's supposed to be a mag release in here. I don't know if you can see that. You stick your finger in and pull it back to release the magazine. This one, that's one of the pieces that's missing, is the spring and the mag release. So you pretty much just have to pull the magazine out. The next thing we will do, we will verify that it is open, unloaded, nothing's in there. And if you'll look right here, when you slide this back, there's a barrel pin right here that you have to drive out. And before you get started, something else I will tell you really need to do is to get you a slave pin, because it'll help you in taking apart the trigger and the inside mechanism. So what I did is I just took a little Dremel rod, a little grinding wheel that was wore out for my Dremel, and I took this thing and put it in a vise and took a file and just filed it down. You want it to about 0.71. I don't know if I can hold this without dropping the pen. About 0.71 because when you take these screws out here, there's one on each side, you'll actually put this in when you put the trigger group and everything back together, and then you'll use the screws to push it out because it's got a sleeve in here. So before you ever get ready to take that inside of the gun apart, make sure you cut you a slave pin. Alright, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get us a punch. One that will fit through to drive out that barrel pin. And I'm using a 3/32 inch punch. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold back on the slide, insert my punch, and then I'm going to take my little hammer and drive her out. Pretty easy peasy. The only thing is you have to hold spring pressure, back spring pressure on this thing to do it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to, you can't lock it back, because if you lock it back, it holds back too far. So you have to do that. You have to kind of have your punch handy dandy ready, because the spring pressure, that's a lot of balancing act. Like I said, don't get upset. This gun is a pain in the butt to take apart. Because when you take this pin out, if you could drive it out just far enough, it'll actually hold the slide out, because it drifts completely out. In fact, I've got it almost to where it'll catch. Problem is holding it back with the spring pressure and balancing your punch. Alright, see, we've got her started now. Once you got it started, you see the pin will actually hold through on the frame, and we can drive that puppy back. Just let your punch drive into it, and your punch will hold the weight when it releases. There's your barrel pin. As you see, it's got the slide held back, and we'll just release the spring pressure and pull out our punch, and then you can take your slide right off the front. Take out your recoil spring and rod. This is the part that I actually put back on, because this one was so deformed it wouldn't let you put the gun back together. So we'll put them aside, and then you just take out your barrel. Now I'm going to be honest with you. Unless you need to drive out this pin to replace extractor spring, or if you have a broken extractor, I wouldn't fool with the slide anymore. That's about as far as you want to go. Alright, from right here we will see that in this groove right here, I don't know if you can see, there's supposed to be a spring. This is the spring that actually holds up the slide release and actually holds down the trigger bar. And I will show you that this spring should be down in that area down there. So we'll just pretend like we just took that out. We took that out because it's kind of hard for me to show you how to take it out if it's missing a piece. Alright, the next thing you want to do is you're going to take apart the you're going to loosen the, find my right tools. You're going to take apart the two screws that hold the frame in. And basically what you have is you have a steel rod in here that's threaded on both ends, and these screw into each side of it. to hold it into place. This is where you will need your you'll need your little slave pin. But if you notice, this trigger spring right here, this little lip, is actually supposed to be under that bar. So when you put all this together, you have to actually wind the hammer and it'll lock into place. That's the biggest pain in the tail on these guns. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to loosen up this screw. You have one screw on each side like this, and we'll take that out. I don't like to take them completely out. I like to use each of them to hold the other one in place, because just like that, if you see how the screws will turn, so you kind of got to get them to that little locking point to where you can back both of them out without turning the other screw. And it is a major pain in the keister to do. Alright, we've removed this screw from the grip, and then we'll remove this one. Hopefully our bar will not turn. See if I can hold it with my finger. Yeah. Hold it with my, I'll just stick my finger down inside. If you see this little bar right here, this is what will actually turn. If you see it, if I can get that on camera. But I'll hold that down. I'm going to loosen this screw out. Now here is where you would use this slave pin to hold everything in place. You would put this pin through your hole and hold it into place if this was under pressure, but it's not under pressure, so it really don't matter, but I just wanted to show you. And then we will take this is a 3/16 inch Allen screw you have right down here. You will just take that, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. First, you have another screw. Drop our slave pin that back out. You have another screw here that actually holds in your trigger bar. You want to loosen this and remove it like so. Just one little screw. I hope my fan's not interfering with the sound of this. But this little piece right here is slotted. So in order for you to, see if I can't get a punch or a pick, in order for you to get it out, you'll have to line it up. There'll be little slots inside. There's a metal piece in here that's got slots that it'll line up on. You'll have to line it up, and then you'll be able to pull it out of there like so. You just leave your trigger bar in there for right now, but you'll see that there's two slots. There's two little knots on this piece right here, and there's a slot into the trigger. When you move the trigger, you can line this in and up. This is what holds everything in place, and then your other notch holds it into the trigger bar. Alright, so now that we've got that out, said we could put our slave pin in. You probably want to take that part out before you remove the back. Then we can take our center, it's pretty snug, our center screw out. This is going to take basically the metal part of the frame out of the pistol. Once you take that up, you can pull the entire guts and make sure that your slave pin's not hanging inside your frame, because that'll keep you from being able to come out. You want to grip this together with your thumb and finger on the back of it, because this thing can go shooting apart. And you'll just pull that out like so. I've got my slave pin in there, and I'll show you that with that out, you can take your mag release, your bolt catch, slide stop, whatever you want to call it. It's got a little hook where it hooks up in here. You'll just take it out, and then you'll take your trigger bar out. And that's pretty much the frame. I will let you know that there's a pin right here that you can take out if you'll drift it out, and it doesn't have a lot of pressure to it right now because there's no spring on it. Pull that out, and if you pull that out, you would be able to then take out the other missing pieces, which would be the mag spring and the mag catch, what we'll have to replace on here. But other than that, unless you need to replace a spring in your trigger, I would not take this any further down. If you've already got it this far, you've probably already taken it further than you want to take it. But we'll set that aside. Now here is your basically your receiver, and I'll show you. My slave pin's not holding in because I don't have pressure on the spring, but you can take this little screw out, you have a pin right here, and this pin has hardly any pressure in it. If you'll see right here, it's kind of got a little lip on this side. You can just take and pull that pin out, and when you pull that pin out, that's going to allow you to take out your trigger spring and mechanism. That's why you hold your have your slave pin in there. You can just drop this out the bottom. And there's your trigger spring and your hammer. And this is the piece right here that is so hard to get. If you can find them, they're about 50 bucks, but they're pretty much long gone. This one's a little bit distorted, but it's not broken. Hopefully we can straighten all that back up when we put it back in the gun. Alright, now that we have that apart, you'll see that we have this little retaining pin that we built, that we cut. You just slide your retaining pin out, and you have the little trigger bar. This is what your spring goes on. It'll actually hook onto this bar, and you'll take the hammer and wind it around one more time, and that's what gives it the pressure. But I just wanted to show you that. And that's basically the gun completely tore apart. There's a little screw. Yeah, it's that simple, But like I said, I caution you, if you've taken it this far, you either know what you're doing, a brave soul, or you're going to be putting this into a bag or a can or something and carrying it to your gunsmith, and that's going to put it back together. We'll put our trigger bar and everything. Pretty much just dumped all the parts in the box, and then we will get set up to install our new parts. Like I said, on the original P12, the P10, this never was able to be removed. This was made in. You would just have to take the follower and everything out of the gun. But that's what's cool about this one, is it has a removable magazine. Well, sorry to leave you. I have to go charge my battery because I don't think I have but a few minutes left. We'll charge the battery, and then I'll show you how to put this jewel back together. Alright, I'm gone.